put that in. We'll see what happens.
Okay. So what do you think, everybody? Should we go ahead and give this thing a go?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's do it.
What's the worst that can happen?
Why do you start like that?
Yes. Star
I'm
Quest.
Irish. We always
This
take the middle
requires a prayer,
Right.
Jeff.
You're listening to Catholic Weekend, episode number 215 for the week ending March 15th, 2014. Good morning and welcome to Catholic Weekend, episode number 215. I'm Captain Jeff in Roswell, Georgia. Joining me this morning again, the lovely Maria Johnson.
Oh, do I even have music this morning? Am I just not hearing it?
Oh, well,
There we
you're just
go.
not hearing it, I think. It should be there. I hear it.
I hear it too. I'm hearing voices in my head.
And also with us today from, whoa, really loud, from Oklahoma, Steve Nelson.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the wave
And Steve Nelson with us still?
Smells sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain.
Okay, well, Steve Nelson is just frozen with anticipation. Wait, join us again. But from deep in the heart of Texas, Angela.
Howdy, howdy. How's everyone today?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing swell.
Oh, that is fantastic. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn that down. I told you, special guest, that this is a train wreck, as always. And we do have a special guest with us this morning. And let me play this.
Dream the impossible dream.
That's Frank
To find
singing
the unbeatable
The Impossible
foe
Dream. And
to bear
our special guest this morning is Father Dwight
with unbearable
Longenecker. Is it Longenecker or Longnecker?
Longenecker.
Longenecker. And so welcome, sir. And we're happy that you could join us this morning on Catholic Weekend, episode number 215. There we go. So, and in the pre-show, we were telling Father Dwight that that he just doesn't really know what he's getting into here with Catholic Weekend, and that we're going to most likely have all kinds of little stumbles here and there. And of course, we started right off the bat with Steve somehow leaving us, and I guess his computer had to be restarted or something. So let's just move on and talk with Father Dwight. And the reason why we have Father Dwight on is that, well, he's a parish priest, he's a father and husband, and he is an author and many more things. He does a great blog. But really we wanted to talk with him this morning about his new book, The Romance of Religion. So good morning, Father.
Good morning.
So, are you wondering why you decided to
To join us this morning.
So tell us. This is not your first book, is it?
No. I think it's, depending how you count books and booklets, maybe about 15, something like that.
Wow, you're quite a prolific writer, I'd say. And I downloaded the Kindle version of your book via Amazon and started reading it just yesterday, and I'm already about 25% of the way through. And I can tell you that it's a very easy, enjoyable read. You're quite a wordsmith, and I'm enjoying the book so far. So tell us a little bit about the book and what the reason is for writing it, and just give us a little synopsis of what the book's all about.
Well, I think one of the things which really motivates me is that when it comes to theology and religion, how do I put this? Very often, the people who are orthodox are boring, and the people who are interesting aren't orthodox.
Well said.
In other words, a lot of the interesting, creative, radical stuff feel like they have to destroy orthodoxy, and undermine the church, and they think it's kind of cool and adolescent to dispute the doctrines and be dismayed about the dogmas. And I wanted to come through and say, no, picking up G.K. Chesterton's quote that there are a few things as exciting and perilous as orthodoxy. I've written a couple books. The first was The Quest for the Creed, and now this one, The Romance of Religion, in which I've tried to use explosive and creative language, kind of like Chesterton did, but also to be joyful and interesting in my approach to Christianity, but to do so in a way which is completely faithful to Catholic teachings.
Well, first, let's learn a little bit about you and how you may have mentioned, folks listening and watching, that I mentioned that Father is a parish priest, and he's also a father of a real father and husband. So, exactly how does that happen? A lot of people might find that a little peculiar.
Well, some months ago, we had a visitor to the parish. She was a lady from Brooklyn, and she sat down after Mass over a cup of coffee, and she leaned over the table and said, "Now, Father, I understand you got 4 children. How did that happen?" Well, I said, "Now, when a man really loves a woman..."
We really need to have this talk about the
Don't give me the sex talk, Father. So... what happened is that in the late 1970s, the quick version is in the late 1970s, a group of Episcopal priests from here in the States petitioned Pope Paul VI, to if they could have a dispensation from the vow of celibacy so that they could be ordained as Catholic priests once they were received into the church. They'd heard that Pius XII in the 1950s had made a similar exception for a group of Lutherans from Sweden. So they tried it on. What about it, Holy Father? And before he could get the job done, he died. Pope John Paul I was elected, then Pope John Paul II, and John Paul II then gave permission for something called the pastoral provision, which was a special method or process set up for former Episcopal priests in the United States to be ordained as Catholic priests and to receive a dispensation from the vow of celibacy to enable them to do so. This was then expanded to England in the early 1990s when the Church of England was going through the crisis over women's ordination. And it's now expanded around the world, and so there's a good number of Anglican priests, Episcopal priests coming in to the Catholic Church who are married with children, and if the process has gone through, they receive a dispensation from the Pope to allow them to be ordained as Catholic priests, and I'm one of them.
Well, now you didn't start off as an Episcopalian priest, did you?
No, I was brought up in Pennsylvania in a very evangelical fundamentalist home, and actually went to Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina, which is not known as a Catholic school. And while I was there, I became an Anglican and got came down with a severe illness called Anglophilia, and which is the love of all things English. And so I wanted to become an Anglican priest. I had this dream of being like George Herbert and living in a little English village and writing poetry and so forth. And so the chance came for me to go and study in Oxford, and so I went and trained for the Anglican priesthood in Oxford, and it went on from there. After 10 years in the Anglican Church, I was then received into the Catholic Church.
Oh, very good. Well, we talk a lot on the show about what is appealing to a lot of people about the Catholic Church, and the thing that seems to come back time and time again is beauty. And you kind of talk about that in The Romance of Religion. So how does beauty play a part in the attraction to a lot of people of the church?
Well, one of the things which I've written in there is that people sometimes talk about beauty, but no one actually, very few people write about the actual mystery of the fact that beauty exists at all. What is it within the human consciousness which causes us to look at something and say, "That's beautiful"? What is that? I mean, this is something in human consciousness and human experience which we take for granted, but it's actually quite mysterious. What is that within the human soul which looks at something and says, "We can apprehend beauty"? I therefore argue a bit and use that as an apologetical point and say, this needs to be answered. We need to have an answer for that and say, why do we do that? It's a little bit like those other inexplicable things of human experience, like music and dancing and laughter and play. These are things humans do which are not utilitarian. They're not functional. They don't have any real purpose. Liturgists say that worship is in that same category. Why do humans do these peculiar things? And so the apprehension of beauty is one of those things which draws us to, my argument is that beauty draws all these things, and beauty draws us to the other side, to something, a reality beyond ourselves, and that's why we gasp and are taken beyond ourselves when we apprehend beauty.
Well, panelists, anybody want to kind of expound upon that a little bit?
I'm stunned into the beauty of that explanation.
Well, let me tell you something. If your father not only speaking contemporaneously has a way with words, but his writing is even more beautiful, I might say. And so anyway, you really need to check out Father's book, The Romance of Religion, and all his other works. But go ahead, Maria.
I'd really like to have you explain to us the connection. At the beginning of the show, you were introduced with the Impossible Dream, and you selected that song as the intro. And so I wonder, what's the connection with that song? And
well, it's from the musical The Lament of La Mancha, which is, of course, the story of Don Quixote. And in the Romance of Religion, the main theme of the book, people need to understand, but the word romance is not referring to a schmoozy dinner with chocolates and candlelight. It's referring to the romance as the great story, the great tales of adventure, the great hero's quest that we go on. And Don Quixote is one of the heroes that are referred to, and I say that the quest of religion, the quest of following Christ, the quest of being a Catholic is very similar to Don Quixote's foolish quest. There's something mad and insane about the whole thing, and something courageous and beautiful about setting off on a quest that is against insurmountable odds and against all the powers of the world, the flesh, and the devil, and yet we're still going to put that saucepan on our head and dust off the old wooden sword and climb aboard a donkey, or in my case, a motorcycle, and and launch ourselves out into this great battle against the forces of evil. And so that's why I chose to dream the impossible dream.
that's a lovely connection. It's one of my favorite books, actually, Don Quixote.
I was just thinking about that description of Man of La Mancha and Don Quixote, and I see a relationship in my mind between the church kind of standing against this wave of secularism, that's enveloping the world, and kind of see the church in a sort of quixotic sort of way. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
Well, he probably didn't hear what you were saying. Yes.
Would anybody else agree or disagree with that?
Well, you know what we should do? I just noticed or remembered that you weren't with us for your own little intro there, Steve. So here we go. From Oklahoma, Steve Nelson.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I was having my usual battle with Google Hangouts. It just does not like my computer, and it locks up at least once every show. I don't know why.
It doesn't like anybody.
No.
But back to your observation, Steve.
I was just saying that in case you didn't hear that there's, to me, and there's a link between the story of Don Quixote and the church kind of standing against this wave of secularism that's kind of washing against it in sort of a quixotic sort of way. Not that we're tilting at windmills or anything like that, but just right. I think that there's the secular world might look at the church and it's like, why don't they just give up?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's my whole point of the Romance of Religion is that we're fighting this battle against insurmountable odds, against seemingly powers that are going to overcome us, not only from without, but also the corruption from within. And yet, the church is still here. It carries on. Who was the Russian leader who asked how many divisions the Pope has? Well, the Pope's still here, and he's gone.
Mhm.
So no,
Hmm.
there's something beautiful about that. The other hero that I mention in the book is Cyrano de Bergerac, who's a bit like a Don Quixote figure. You know, the one who has the big nose and wears the broad-brimmed hat like a musketeer and battles for goodness, truth, and beauty. And again, has the ridiculous huge nose, and there's something ridiculous and weird and odd about it. But that's part of its beauty.
Well, one of the things that we've been discussing really over months and practically a whole year, is the impact that the Holy Father has had on people's curiosity about Catholicism. Um, to use the word romantic again, one of the things that I've always been amused by is the romance that Hollywood has, with the mystery of Catholicism, and not really ever getting it right, but just kind of picking up on the on the mysterious and romantic elements of the faith traditions. And I think that right now, what Pope Francis is doing is kind of taking that conversation, that interest that the secular world has, and just really expanding it and providing opportunities for discussion. Um, and I think that that's also part of this romantic notion of the faith in a different direction, but still an allure, still an attraction. I think that you missed almost everything that I said, and I don't think that I can
No, no, it came through.
repeat it. But the other day I was coming back from California. I was on a very long flight with a woman that I didn't realize until the end that had been on every leg of my journey, watching me read a Carol Houselander book, The Reed of God. And she was just watching how engrossed I was in the book. And I, of course, had all day to read it and finished it on the flight that she ended up sitting next to me on. And leaned over and said, could I see the book? I'd like to write down the title and the author. I've never seen anyone so engrossed in a book. And we started talking, and she says, "Oh, I'm Catholic." And I said, "Really?" And but I kind of sensed that she was maybe just Catholic in culturally Catholic maybe. And she says, "What do you think about the Pope?" And I thought, wow, there is yet another example of these conversations that are going on all over the world, just because of this allure of what the Pope has to say and what he's projecting to the people, like Cyrano de Bergerac with the hat and the kind of
And the large nose.
and the large nose, putting the putting
Actually,
the words out there.
if you're interested in comparisons to comedians, look at some photographs of the elderly Stan Laurel. He looks just like Pope Francis.
Well, that's an improvement over the images of Emperor Palpatine, right?
No, absolutely.
Well, you talk a lot in your book about heroes, and one perhaps hero that was riding on a yellow school bus with a lunchbox with Mickey Mouse. So if you're interested in what that's all about, you really do need to read the book. It's a great read, but you talk about the fact, there's a little pull quote from your book. Did I hold in the form of Mickey Mouse lunchbox a metaphor of eternity?
Do I have to explain that to everybody?
You're going to have to now because I mentioned it.
Okay. Well, this is a true story. I was about, I guess, going to first kindergarten or first or second grade, and I had one of those lunch boxes that was painted and to resemble a school bus, and the school bus lunchbox was peopled with all the different Disney characters. There was Goofy and Donald Duck and so forth. But Mickey was about to climb onto the school bus, painted on the outside of the lunchbox, and in Mickey's hand was an identical Disney school bus lunchbox like mine, and I began to think, if he's holding that school lunchbox like mine, and is there another little Mickey on his lunchbox? And I looked, and there was. And if there was another little Mickey on Mickey's lunchbox, was there another little Mickey on Mickey's little lunchbox? And that I couldn't see. And was there therefore an infinite number of little tiny Mickeys with the little tiny lunchbox just like me? And I began to ponder this deep metaphysical question at the age of 7 or 8. And I concluded that there must be an infinite number of Mickeys with Disney lunchboxes, and that furthermore, I had a Disney lunchbox like that, and somehow I was connected with this great mystery. That's all.
Wow.
And
That's
then I
pretty
said,
deep
well, then
for a 7-year-old.
then in the book, I said I then went into school, and the teacher was teaching me to sing "Farmer in the Dell," you know, and to play patty cake and stuff like that. So I was a little bit bored. I wanted to discuss metaphysical problems with her, you know, and there she was saying, "See Jim run, run Jim run."
And you wanted a response with "See Mickey and Mickey and Mickey and Mickey and Mickey."
Yes, that's right. Where are the endless Mickeys? Yeah.
And that's why I'm not a, a philosopher, a theologian, because I would be wondering how I could get Mickey's lemon cookies just like the ones I had in my lunchbox.
Well, I went on to say, you know, inside the lunchbox, then there was a peanut butter sandwich made with Peter Pan peanut butter. But would that open up the door to Peter Pan himself in Neverland by eating the peanut butter sandwich? You know, there were lots of questions there, and so that then related to the movie The Matrix with its worlds within worlds and so forth, and that's where that's the jumping off point.
That's
So anyway,
terrific.
get hold of the book.
I'm going to have to now. I got to see how it.
Homework for everyone this week.
I'm telling you that I know these people on this panel, Father, and I know that they would absolutely love this book. You're talking about The Matrix and Heroes and even Mickey Mouse.
Even Mickey Mouse. So it's not a Mickey Mouse book at all, huh?
No, it's not a Mickey Mouse book at all.
Mickey Mouse, Neo, Don Quixote, and Cyrano de Bergerac, and some others.
Well, Father, one of the quotes that really stuck out to me, at least in my read so far, and I believe this is a quote from C.S. Lewis, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's from you. I can't. I'm trying to scour the book here, but the meaning of life is to ask a question, and the question is, what is the meaning of life?
Oh, that's Longenecker. It's not Lewis.
Oh, awesome. Well, see now, yeah. I thought it was so great that it must have. Or Chesterton.
Because we periodically come in and insult our guests like this.
That's okay, because I'm notorious for stealing from C.S. Lewis, G.K. Chesterton, and lots of other people. I think T.S. Eliot said that good writers borrow, great writers steal. So
there we go.
There you go. I can be a great writer then because I steal a lot.
And, you know, I'll have to point out, Maria, I wasn't being offensive. Actually, that was quite a
compliment. No. Yes. Okay. I just had to get the thing in.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so yeah, absolutely. The book is fantastic, and we'll have information about how you can find it. What's your preferred method of buying the book, Father? Would you rather them go to your website, or would you rather go to Amazon?
It's fine. They can go if they want to go to my website and send me a note. I'm happy to send them a signed copy. Otherwise, they can buy it through Amazon, Barnes and Noble. They can get it in all the major bookshops. Also, the Kindle edition is available through Amazon. So it's out there. It's been published by Thomas Nelson. That's another thing. I was pleased to have it published by a non-Catholic publishing house because I'm trying to reach a wider audience with this message than just our Catholics.
Super.
So how does somebody from Philadelphia goes to Bob Jones University and then ends up in Greenville, South Carolina?
Well, I'm going to, I think if I ever get around to writing my memoirs, it'll be entitled There and Back Again.
It's been done.
Yeah, I know.
Stealing again.
What's that saying that where he was original, he was not brilliant, and where he was brilliant, he was not original, or something like that. But I confess. Well, what happened was I went to Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina, then went over to England to study. Stayed over there for 25 years. In the meantime, my family had moved to Greenville and started a business. So Greenville became my hometown. So when I was then applying to be a Catholic priest, one of the priests in Greenville said, well, you know, why not ask the Bishop of Charleston? And so the Bishop of Charleston then applied for my dispensation to Rome, and I was then sponsored for Charleston. And it just so happened that a job came up as a high school chaplain in Greenville. So about 30 years after leaving Bob Jones, by God's quirky providence, I returned to Greenville, South Carolina, to be ordained as a Catholic priest about 3 miles away from Bob Jones' front gate. So if you don't
Send them an invitation.
if you don't think God has a sense of humor, come talk to me sometime.
Which parish, Father, are you there in Greenville? In the suburbs?
It's Our Lady of the Rosary, and it's right on I-85 as you come into Greenville, coming up from Atlanta, coming north. We're trying to build a new church there too, so if anybody has a spare $1 million, go to our website and be in touch. We're building a beautiful Romanesque church. Catholicism is growing in the South, and we're building this church. We've got some salvaged stained glass windows from a church in Massachusetts. It's been closed down, and it's an exciting project. So that's where I am now.
Well, it's a shame you're not downtown in one of those parishes there, because I'm an airline pilot, and I lay over in Greenville occasionally, and it would have been nice to visit your parish. But oh well. Well, let's see.
In fact, it's easier to get to my parish, on 85 down from the airport, than it is to get downtown. So you come and see us anyhow.
Okay, we'll do that. If they give me a car, I'll do that. Let's take a listen to this really quickly here. You may have heard that in the background.
Beware the Ides of March, Brutus.
Why the Ides of March?
The Ides of March. Nobody has said a thing about it.
Well, that's because
Just watch
Jeff,
your back, okay?
you're
Just
Caesar.
watch your back.
Oh, that's why you're not mentioning it. And you guys are going to kill me.
Just watch your back.
Yeah, okay, well, let's do this. We'll take a little break and talk about how you, dear viewer and listener, can help us at the StarQuest Production Network. Now, if after you've gone over to Amazon.com or Father Dwight's website to buy his book and you have some leftover money, head over to SQPN.com and click on the Donate tab there, and you can help us in our effort in new evangelization at StarQuest Production Network. Yeah, so SQPN.com/donate. You can become a friend of SQPN, and thank you. Many of you in the chat room here are supporting us in that way, and we do appreciate it. If you want to buy Father Dwight's book via Amazon and you want to help out SQPN, you can do that by heading over to SQPN.com, clicking on the SQPN Amazon banner, and that way your purchase, a little bit of the purchase will go toward SQPN, and that helps us. And it doesn't cost you any more. It just means that Amazon and Jeff Bezos doesn't get as much money from your purchase of. By the way, Father Dwight will get it just as much as he would have anyway. So if you want to help us out in that way, head over to SQPN.com and click on the Amazon.com banner. Also, if you're just itching to get your own blog, like Standing on My Head, the fantastic blog by Father Longenecker, you can sign up for a great hosting platform, and that's Bluehost. We have an affiliate relationship with Bluehost.com, and again, SQPN.com. You can click on that Bluehost banner, and doing so and signing up with them will really help us out. So, several different ways you can help out the StarQuest Production Network and our efforts in the new evangelization. Okay, we'll gently fade that music out in the background, and for some reason, it doesn't look like my video is coming out over the Hangout, is it?
I can see you.
Okay. Okay. For some reason, I'd see the little kitty cat in a round circle.
That's because you're so cute and fluffy.
Oh yeah, well I think people, maybe that's a viewer thing. More people are clicking on the cat. They would rather see the cat than my mug.
If
We
only
have that
you were
choice?
wearing a
Wow.
hat.
Yeah, well, that's a what? What is that button? All right. So
And we're back.
And we are back. So, how's everybody been doing this week? Let's catch up a little bit. Anything going on with your Lenten practices that you want to talk about?
Well, oh, sorry. I did decide, and I didn't talk about this on the show, but I did decide at the beginning of Lent to go through the last part of the Catechism on prayer as part of my Lenten practice, and it's been really, really fantastic. I had heard about this whole idea of praying with the Catechism. I mentioned earlier, a few weeks ago on the show, there's a new website called Reverb Culture, and they're trying to get more young adults particularly involved with the Catechism because, it's starting to pick up. Scripture studies are really starting to become more popular, and so now this movement is pushing for, Scripture is awesome, and we as Catholics also embrace church teaching and tradition, and so pick up the Catechism too. So I was really inspired by that, and I decided to start praying and studying with the Catechism, and particularly this section on prayer, and it's been fantastic. Just wanted to kind of report that and encourage others to think about doing something like that too, because it's been eye-opening.
Wonderful.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I'll go. I think I told you guys that I was doing the 40 bags in 40 days thing, trying to physically declutter my life, and I'm also trying to spiritually declutter it. I'm just reading more. Father had mentioned earlier that in order to write, you really need to be a reader, and I've just been embracing a lot of the books that I have stacked up on my night table that I haven't gotten around to reading because I read other things for work. So there's only so many hours in the day. And I started off by reading the Read of God, and now I'm actually rereading Elizabeth Scalia's Strange Gods, because I think that I've put a lot of idols before me, in terms of my time and other things. And so that's what I'm doing, spiritual reading. So up for some more recommendations. I know what my next book is going to be. So
Elizabeth is my boss at Pathos, and so I'll tell her that her book is still doing a lot of good.
Oh, it is. I fly a lot to conferences and things where I present. And last year when the book came out, I was reading it on a plane, and the stewardess I was in an aisle seat, and the stewardess kept walking by me and just kind of looking at the cover, because she was attracted to the little pretty icons on the cover. And during a break, she actually sat down next to me to hear about the book. And I'm like, wow, who knew that you would be evangelizing so much on an airplane?
Yeah. Well, did you want some more input about Lenten practices? Because the thing I'm doing for Lent is I'm rereading Mark's Gospel. I was impressed in the week before Lent that too often with all of our religion and all of our good works and all things we're doing, we sometimes forget about Jesus. And so I'm going back and just reading St. Mark's Gospel again, but also blogging every day on it. So I have developed something called a Blobble Study, which is a Bible study on a blog. And so while I read, I then make comment. And so it's been a great thing to share with my readers and to go through Mark's Gospel again day by day.
And Father, tell us where we can read your blog. It's Standing on My Head or Standing?
Yeah,